Hi, this is Clive Spencer from LPA. I'm going to go through some slides about VisiRule, primarily aimed at the legal sector, and this won't take too long. So, VisiRule is a visual tool for drawing knowledge diagrams. So, in the center, we see a VisiRule chart, and around it we have lots of things that happen as a result of drawing it. You can think of this like you have a Visio diagram, but it can generate code, it can generate rules, it can generate interactive expert systems, it can populate documents, all sorts of wonderful things. We're just going to have a quick run through the slides. So, next slide is somewhere. This is an example of a VisiRule chart. We have lots of different boxes of different colors. They have slightly different meanings, slightly different behavior, but typically they are questions and available answers. And these will be used to generate a questionnaire for the user to step through, and the user will answer questions, and a result of giving answers, in effect, they will journey down different paths. These are conditional scripts, as it were, which cover a variety of different paths, some of which lead to the same place. So that's why they're called convergent rather than divergent. There's another chart. We have, again, different colors, different shapes, different sizes, but typically these are used to generate a rules-based expert system which can be delivered as an interactive or embedded component. Another view of a VisiRule chart for those people that like radial views. Different people seem to respond to different visual portrayals of information. Information is very subjective and people relate to it in different ways. Having different views helps shape that. What is VisiRule? It's a graphical tool which enables legal experts and other experts to capture, explore, and execute their expertise and knowledge as rules. No code is required and no programming is required, and there is still access to the generated rules. Hence, these tools such as VisiRule are quite often called no code, low code, or low code, no code. In the old days, we used to say rapid prototyping, but these days it's LC, NC, NC, LC, low code, no code, blah, blah, blah. VisiRule generates what we now call rule-based expert systems. In fact, we called them that 20 years ago, but we wrote them by hand, and then we changed the name a few times, but we seem to now be going back to calling them rule-based expert systems because AI, artificial intelligence, is now acceptable. For 20 years, it was out in the cold and we weren't allowed to use AI anywhere in our information. Who uses VisiRule? Field service engineer, help desk operators, diagnostic, diagnosis, anything to do with the flow chart like synopsis or diagnosis of what's going wrong, how can we fix it? Legal expert system. So VisiRule offers a simple point and click interface to draw a chart. VisiRule then converts the diagram into an active or interactive web session, chatbot, or embedded component. So it takes a diagram and knows what the different bits of the diagram are and generates rules so that you can have something that can be run. VisiRule sits on top of Flex, which is a frame-based expert system toolkit that LPA developed a long time ago. And the whole thing sits on top of a Prolog engine. Prolog was a wonderful AI language back in the 70s, kind of got buried in the stack of interesting programming languages, but powers the underlying inferencing, logical deduction, induction, deduction, all this kind of wonderful stuff. Interesting thing about this technology, you can attach partial explanations to questions and bits of logic, and the system will glue them all together to build up a justification or explanation to substantiate the decision that the system recommends, as opposed to data-driven artificial intelligence, where the algorithm sifts the data and knows how to make good decisions, but can't explain itself because it's a black box. Rule-based expert system can produce explanations. Okay, LPA, who are they? Small company. I joined them in the 80s. They've been going for a long time, producing good stuff, expert systems, AI, logic programming. LPA stands for Logic Programming Associates, hence logic programming, programming in logic, or Prolog. Blah, blah, blah. LPA in the late 90s helped create another company called Business Integrity. We basically had developed some stuff to do with document generation or contract generation or proposal generation. And we partnered with a small UK law firm and we set up a new company called Business Integrity Limited, and the product became Contract Express. And we sold it to all the big law firms all over the world. Let's go back to that because this is interesting. We had Freshfields, Linklaters, Clifford Chance. We had all the big law firms. They loved it. And it was a template way of building reusable contracts such that each contract issued was a unique instance of a generic template. Sold that business in 2015 to Thomson Reuters for lots of money. And that is now a product from TL. LPA helped create it, has the brains, has the knowledge, has the people. Now we're doing VisiRule. VisiRule is able to generate documents, but actually is also able to not generate documents. Very quick overview of how I see the expert systems arena for VisiRule. Top left-hand corner, the user or the knowledge holder interactively creates a drawing which encapsulates their knowledge. Top right-hand corner is the user comes along, answers a load of questions that in effect deploy the knowledge to give a recommendation. Bottom left-hand corner, rather than have the person generate the rules, we induce the rules using machine learning algorithms from a vast set of data that's available. Bottom right-hand corner is rather than deploy the system, whether it came from the expert or the data or a bit of both, rather than deploy it as an interactive questionnaire, we deploy it as an embedded component and run it against a large repository of data to process a batch of data. So we have creation, interactive, or batch or hybrid, and we have delivery, interactive or batch, data-driven or hybrid. What does it look like? Well, when it's running on a mobile phone, it looks a bit like this. You see questions on the right-hand side, you click, make selections, and on the left-hand side, we see what you might end up with, which is an NDA, fully generated and populated. So law firms, how do they use VisiRule? They can use it to capture and propagate legal know-how internally to increase the consistency and productivity and help train juniors. Let's go back. They can also use it to give precious clients direct access to their legal expertise without having to pick up a phone. And they can also use it on an extranet to help find new clients through some sort of marketing showcase. So people who are interested in immigration, you can say, hey, here's 6 questions, answer these, and we'll give you a very quick idea as to whether or not you can apply for a visa. And as a result of that initial advice, you probably want to phone us and have a longer chat, hence the engagement comes downstream. Here's a bit of a screen, VisiRule chart. We have a questionnaire, we have a set of questions, and we have a generated document. So this is kind of what VisiRule does. LexisNexis in Austria have used it to generate a whole raft of interactive questionnaires with lots and lots of questions. And at the end of answering lots and lots of questions, you get some really, really good advice as to the legal requirements for, say, a proposed transaction or tax. Okay, so that's it. Hope it didn't take too long. Let me check my clock. Didn't take too long, did it? Hope you enjoyed it. And if you've got this far, you can go look at some demos, and I'll put up another video when I get a chance. Bye now.